Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rashard Butts, and I'm the Senior Manager of the HBCU program at the Human Rights Campaign. Welcome to our Campus to Career Readiness Workplace panel, and we are joined today by three amazing panelists who's going to have dynamic conversation. We have representatives from EA, which is Electronic Arts, PVH, and State Farm. I'll bring the panelists on now, and we'll begin the conversation. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. So we're here to have a great conversation with students from across the world attending historically Black colleges and universities. And as you know, we started this program last year in the middle of the pandemic because colleges had to kind of pivot away from doing college fairs and career readiness training sessions on campus. So we thought we would fill the gap by doing virtual programming to have conversations around the application process, LGBTQ culture in the workplace, what the workplace looks like for folks who identify as LGBTQ, and the changing landscape given the COVID pandemic. So I'll start. I will invite Rachel Flores to share a little bit about yourself, your company you work for, and your role.
Thanks, Rashard. I'm Rachel Flores. I use pronouns she and her. A little bit about my background. I am originally from Omaha, Nebraska, so I'm a Midwest girl at heart. I went to the University of Nebraska at Omaha. I was a first-generation college student. I worked full-time, went to school full-time. It took me 5 years to finish, but I received a degree in business and with an emphasis in management and HR. So I've been in HR recruiting my entire professional career. For the past 10 years or so, I've been focused on university and diversity recruiting. I've been in a number of different industries, from consumer packaged goods, the food industry, to financial services, to HR. And then now I'm at PVH, which is the parent company of Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger within the retail, fashion, and apparel space. And I am the director of university and diversity recruiting, and I'm based in New York City.
Okay. We'll hop over to Marsherie Tompkins. Marsherie, looks like you're still muted.
Hi, all. Hi, everyone. My name is Marsherie, and I'm pleased to be sharing this space with all of you. I'd like to recite an ode to commitment, and that is, she is clothed in strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. I am currently a recruiter at Electronic Arts. I'm very, very happy to be within that space. It's an incredible place to work with a lot of dynamic and creative individuals, so that's always a plus. And once again, I'm happy to be here with all of you.
Okay, thank you. And we'll hop to Marcus Smith with State Farm.
Hi, glad to be with you today. My name is Marcus Smith. My pronouns are he and him. A little bit about me. I am a Peloton athlete. My favorite coach is Cody Risby. All the coaches are great, but Cody is funny, engaging, and I always get a great workout when I ride with Cody. And my mantra is all about perseverance in everything I do. So I like to say, keep going.
Perfect. Thank you. And I realized that we asked you all a mantra or guiding quote. And Rachel, I don't know if you had one, so I'm going to give you the opportunity to share yours if you like.
Yeah, thank you. Totally missed that part. So a quote I heard a few years ago at a conference, so I don't want to claim it as my own, is, my perception is my reality, but your perspective is my wisdom. And for me, that's really just a reminder to listen to other perspectives and experiences, be open to feedback, and in turn, you can actually change your perception and your reality.
Thank you. So I want to ask you all a little bit about your educational background and how that got you to where you are now. So no particular order, I guess we can just start with Marsherie, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So my goal today is to provide some insight into the gaming industry. I work with an illustrious team of highly skilled professionals to find the next generation of talent at Electronic Arts. I'm a sourcer, which just means I'm to find the best talent. So I encourage everyone watching to reach out to myself or any other recruiters at Electronic Arts. We're always happy to brain map with you like your greatest goals and then find out how those can align with EA. Um, I think that's the most best piece is that we want you to be happy, we want you to thrive, and we want you to bring your best self. So we're really, really interested in delving deep into that with you. My educational background is in Africana Studies and Rhetorical Theory. I am a graduate of Florida State University. Shout out to all the Knowles. And I sort of ended up in the recruiting space because I actually enjoy navigating the world of what to do with students post-graduation. So chat me up and I can help you explore the creative and also our very technical roles at EA.
Thank you. Thank you. Marcus?
Sure. I work at State Farm, and we help customers recover from the unexpected and realize their dreams. I was an individual contributor for 10 years in professional technical roles, but I've been in leadership for the last 20 years, and that has included project manager, IT service manager, human resources manager, and project manager. My current role is an information security manager, where I have responsibility for people, products, and policy. I obtained my undergraduate degree at Northwood University in Midland, Michigan. I earned an MBA with a concentration in project management at Illinois State University, and I've acquired several industry credentials, including Certified Information Security Manager. I also have a variety of insurance, risk, and IT service management certifications. And I'm glad to be with you all today.
Thank you. Thank you. And Rachel?
Yeah, so I kind of already jumped the gun and told you a lot about my educational background in my intro, but to dive in a little bit into my role at PVH, so being in the fashion retail apparel space has been a new experience for me. It's my first time in this industry, so I'm actually getting to learn a lot on the business side, which is great. As the director of a university and diversity recruiting, I work directly with students. I work directly with different universities and building out our partnerships and relationships with them. I have a team that also works alongside me and the talent acquisition recruiters as well. So happy to be here. And similarly, like Marjorie, you can chat me up whenever you'd like.
Thank you. Thank you. So how has COVID-19 and the pandemic affected your work, your organization, and your industry at large? And we can start with Marcus.
Well, we started working from home in March 2020, and thank goodness for modern technology. The internet, virtual private networks, Skype, Zoom, Teams, instant messaging, smartphones, all of that has made the pandemic much more survivable. Now, it has been a disruption, no doubt about that, but we have benefited from an ability to adapt and in many ways maintain much of our prior ways of work and ways of life. It's not a substitute, but the technology has enabled many industries to grow and prosper, relationships to be maintained, education to continue, entertainment to continue, while we find our way back to a new normal.
Thank you. Thank you. Rachel?
Yeah, so I think from my perspective, being in the fashion and retail space, it's been interesting. This industry is greatly impacted by the pandemic. It seemed like almost overnight, our store teams, our corporate teams, like supply and design, e-commerce and technology, they all had to act quickly, to figure out how to work in this new normal. To Marcus's point, we had, as a company, we had to juggle two huge things, which was figuring out the remote environment and also learning how to keep our associates safe because of our retail stores, right? So similarly, we looked at, upgraded technologies to make things a little bit easier on our associates and make that transition to remote work a little bit more seamless. For our consumers, we did look at doubling down on e-commerce and the digital, making sure our products can still be consumed and bought. And then even like what products we were selling, like, a focus on athleisure wear as well. So we had a lot of impact within our industry.
Nice, nice. And Marcherie, when you think about EA, I mean, that's already a lot of technology involved in your organization, I can assume. So could you share a little bit about how it shifted your work?
Yeah, I'll definitely say that everyone here has rallied around being intentional about your workspace and your time. It's super important. At the beginning, we were all in meetings all the time. But I think that that's slowed down a bit. I think that we're all setting some boundaries for what it looks like to be so accessible all the time. And then we're global, so we have studios in Vancouver and in Austin and in all these different places. So I think it's also opened up a lot of flexibility. So that's been one of the bonuses. And then another bonus is we have employee resource groups. So we call them ERGs. So they've been like a large influence on how we still maintain the existence of community within our organization. So like the Beat, one of the ERGs, they just had like a spades tournament. Somos, the Latinx ERG, they just had food boxes sent over, and then we got to cook live with like this awesome chef. So I mean, there's still things that are going on to make us like still feel supported, and then also just engage with our team, because that's a large part of how we work. And then I guess, we're still stuck home, amidst this pandemic, but we're definitely looking to open soon. Our offices. Our games are open. We're definitely looking to open our offices soon and get back to maybe something of a nice new cadence. But I think that it hit us interestingly at the beginning, but right now we're finding a really nice rhythm to like staying connected and still being highly effective in our work.
Right, right. I think for us, it affected, or a lot of organization, it affected the work culture itself and the feel and the atmosphere of your organization. I know for us at HRC, it's such a family, and you look forward to seeing your colleagues, in the elevator or at the coffee counter getting coffee in the morning. So for us, it affected our work culture. I know we have new staff, and they're like, oh, well, I don't necessarily know the true feeling of what it means to be part of the HRC family yet. And to Marcherie's point, we are looking to open and find this new cadence soon. But yeah, so with that, where do you see the workplace going in general, right? What skills, characteristics, or traits do we think are more vital now to have as a student getting ready to transition into the workplace? And we can start with Rachel.
Yeah, so I think something I've always said for a number of years now is just the importance of being able to be flexible and adaptable. And I think that is more critical now than it's ever been. The key word was pivot over this past couple of years. So that's going to be my number one that I would back behind. I think another thing that we also look at is just soft skills and that emotional intelligence. You can never go wrong with focusing on that piece. Something I often say is like, anyone can learn how to do the technical piece of the job, but how you actually do that job is unique to you. And so that can really differentiate yourself as you think about, how you're coming across in an organization and thinking about your attitude, your communication, your collaboration, creativity, problem solving, all of those things, I think will continue to be a huge focus.
That's so good.
Marcus.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Rachel that adaptability and agility are key skills to, help candidates be successful. Because I work in the technical space, I can offer a little bit of perspective from that point of view. I see the growth and universality of the cloud being a key factor in the future. So whether it's the AWS cloud or the Microsoft cloud or the Google cloud, that is going to be a component of major organizations going forward, and a place where applications, products, and services are going to be sourced. And so candidates who have an understanding of the cloud, have cloud skills or certifications, are going to have an edge. Likewise, cybersecurity is a business imperative. Privacy, security, risk management are key because it's important to customers. And so as you think about a more, virtual, interacting environment where we are exchanging our information in different settings, the ability to protect that information and to protect our privacy, but also to protect the brand and reputation of the organization that you're going to work for, are going to be key skills to understand and be able to talk about. And also kind of, what kinds of skills are emerging, machine learning, data science are rapidly emerging, and also coding skills. Candidates who have coding skills are going to have an edge. And so those are a few things that I think will be important for the future.
Thank you. And Marjorie, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I think that soft skills are a question that I see students uniquely asking us about now. And I think that that's being weighed evenly on like our side as well, against some of the more technical skills. So as like we're going more digital, like you have to be able to know how to connect. I think that's super vital. And I think that something new that we're going to be stepping into is our virtual reality space. So I'm excited to see how like EA takes shape with that within that space. And then just being able to also on that same end of stepping into the virtual reality space, we're also stepping into this new work model of like hybrid mobility. Like if you want to be hybrid for a while, you're able to. If you're wanting to be completely remote, you're able to. And if you're needed within other regions, you're able to. And then that also allows us to really bring on diverse talent globally, which is nice because like you asked, like, what are some of the skills? I mean, for us, we hire across so many diverse and niche practices that I think anything within like the technical space, the computer science space, even within the musical space and the artistic space is definitely sought and being sought, not just with EA, but like just across the boards with companies becoming more STEAM and digitally inclusive. So it's going really great places. I'm actually very excited.
Thank you. So we are still, as we all know, very well know, in the middle of the pandemic, and schools and colleges are still having to program differently. So the big college fair or career fairs that campuses used to hold may not happen, right? Or has not happened in quite some time now. So what are new ways that students are having to seek these opportunities to either one, find jobs and career openings, or two, find the learnings that prepare them for them? And like the side of that is, what are your organizations doing, and how are you reaching students and targeting these different communities and populations of folks who are looking for positions? And we can start with Marcus, if you don't mind.
Sure. I would say LinkedIn and other business social platforms are essential tools. But also, candidates should take advantage of the web, and company websites still provide rich information to research job prospects, company background information, financials, what their products and services are, and also, what recent news is happening around that organization, as well as the opportunities that the organization may have available. I also encourage candidates to keep up with industry publications in your desired field of interest. So that's, subscribing to newsletters or blogs in the field that you have an interest in, so that you're able to speak fluently with recruiters about, things that are important to the organization that you'd like to work for.
Thank you, Marjorie.
I think that there's definitely been a rise in some of the digital platforms that are designed to help employers connect with great candidates. So I know for us, we just started doing a lot of engagement on Ripple Match, or on platforms like Handshake, specifically targeting college students. And we're also looking at different clubs or groups that exist to sharpen your skills. So different hackathons. We want to know that you were involved in that. Or, just connecting with other different groups like the Jackie Robinson Foundation, the Grace Hopper Celebration. I think that it's always important to be able to tell a story. Even though we're not able to connect with you as frequently as we want to, we're still out there seeking students through these different clubs and organizations. So it's important that you're being involved in them, because those are things that are sharpening your skills and things that are attractive. And then also, Marcus, you mentioned LinkedIn. So, we always say LinkedIn, and then I think there's sadly that 1% of students that actually reach out, because we're actually excited to engage with you, especially if you bring the skills and have the agility to do those things that we're seeking of our candidates. So I think, yeah, LinkedIn is super underutilized. It's just a place to strike up a conversation. And when that happens, you'd be surprised how dynamic your career can flourish.
Thank you. And Rachel.
Yeah, so +1 to everything that Marcus and Marjorie said, and I'll +1 to LinkedIn, and reinforce that. It's a huge tool for us as well. And I always encourage students to not just connect with individuals, but really follow their voices, engage with them on their posts, actually have an interest in what they're saying, not just asking for a job. And you can do some of that sort of pre-work ahead of when you're actually looking for a job, start doing some of your research, to Marcus's point, and then start engaging early in that. And that way, when you go to actually ask, tell me about that job, you have more of a connection and a network there. And it feels more genuine, I suppose, than just reaching out for a job. And then I will still plug the career services teams at the universities, because they're a huge help for us as employers. I mean, we do have universities that we do partner with, in addition to various organizations like Marjorie was saying too. But I don't think that students utilize them as much as they could. I mean, they can go to them and ask, who do you know at PVH that I can get connected with? I'm really interested in their opportunities. Can you direct connect me? So, don't be afraid to ask for that help too.
Thank you. So really quick, this is a random thought I have. Have you ever felt like there weren't enough applicants in the pool for your organizations?
I'll say that for right now, I can speak on electronic arts. I don't think that there's not enough applicants at all. I think there's a lack in confidence to the pool of applicants that aren't actually applying.
Gotcha.
I feel, we're not limited in some of the opportunities that we have. And I will say that, EA is definitely standing behind its inclusivity. So we're asking and we're seeking a large pool of candidates from diverse backgrounds, and we're just sort of eager to receive those applicants for sure.
Thank you.
I'll add, I think from a PVH perspective, we do have location working in our favor. We're New York City based. That location is already super diverse, just organically, inherently. And so I don't think we have a shortage of applications coming in for sure. I get what Marjorie's saying, and definitely we want more. We want those individuals that are not applying to consider applying with us as well. I have, just drawing on my previous experiences, I have worked for companies that aren't fortunate enough to be working in diverse cities and diverse parts of the country, and or just don't have a lot of populated areas there. And so there have been opportunities in my past where we do need definitely more, and we actually have to seek candidates and find them and ask them to apply, really sell the organization, sell the location. So I think that does exist, just depending on where you're at in the United States.
Thank you. Yes.
I could just add, State Farm, we have operation centers all over the country, but we made an investment a few years ago to open major hubs in Atlanta, Dallas, and Phoenix for the very reason that Rachel was talking about, positioning a physical location and visibility of State Farm in the places where people want to live and where younger generations are wanting to be. And so that's an important feature that I think our senior leaders were wise to anticipate and understand and make that investment in those major locations. But we also still have, agents' offices, over 18,000 agents' offices across the United States. So just another way that State Farm is accessible and available. I can't say that we're lacking for, I guess, recruits, but, are always interested in hearing from new candidates, and happy to talk about the possibilities that exist within our organization.
And if I could add, Rashard, one more thing, just to qualify what I was saying, I'm referencing that in regards to early career talent. I do think, when we look at experienced and lateral hiring, that's a completely different ballgame. And, the applications that are coming in there look very different. The volume looks very different than early careers. And there are more niche roles and different skill sets and experiences that we're looking for that, you know, can be a little bit more challenging. So.
Thank you, thank you. And that's a good segue to the next question. So you mentioned early career and I guess entry level. How important is it for students or transition to the workplace to find the right place to be, right? Like, what does that look like? And then even in addition to that, what tips and advice would you give to students during the application process? We can start with, I don't know, whoever wants to start.
I can start. I would say understand what drives and excites you. You know,
Okay.
know what feeds your soul, what gives you energy, and then go after that. But what I also say, thinking back to what Rachel led with, is have an open mind and have a plan B, C, and D. And so you want to be able to create options for yourself. So that would be my advice.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Rachel, go ahead.
Sorry. I think finding the right place to work is important eventually. But I think, you know, as you're starting your career, it's kind of like dating, like, and finding the right partner. You might have to go through a few that aren't really right. And that's kind of how it is in the workplace too. I think the more experience you get, the further along in your career you get, I think the more you understand what you're looking for. And it may not be necessarily about the organization fully, but more about who you work with and who you're working for and under, like who's your leader. Like when I look back on my career, those are things that I look at. Yes, I love the organization, but who I'm working for and with is equally as important to find.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I echo all the sentiments. I think it's really important to feel happy and as though you can excel and achieve your goals within the platform of the company. I think that's what's pretty sort of unique. Pretty sort of unique with us, because it's like, what are your goals? Okay, so how can we achieve that within this platform? And then that's really how we build. So I think, yes, going through like the dating phase of like all these companies, I also think that maybe utilize that dating phase during your internships. Go for as many as you absolutely can, and ask the hard questions. If you have the internship, it's because they want to hire you. If you have an internship at Electronic Arts, it's because we want to hire you. So you need to ask the hard questions, and find out if this is a group of people that you're really excited and motivated to like absolutely do your best work every day. And if so, then come on. And so I think that's really, really, really important. General tips during the application process. I think it's always important to tell a story. And I don't know if that's just because of like the nature of where I am. But I think it's very important to be able to tell a story about who you are and have that echoed in your resume and in your digital portfolio. Like everything that you're doing should make sense. Each skill that you're building on should connect and deepen your knowledge for at least, you know, within like the technical or the creative space.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. And to that point, tell a story kind of sparks the question. Do you think it's important for LGBTQ people to disclose their identity in the process? Or do you think it would be more beneficial or could be more beneficial for a person to hold that piece of their story or identity out, just given the nature of discrimination that could happen in the workplace and things like that?
Yeah, so I think it's important to do whatever is necessary to make you feel comfortable within the space that you're occupying. I know that at EA, we're super inclusive and beyond welcoming about everything. And we understand how new things can come with uncertainties. So there's like a lot of support. There's a lot of support within how to speak with your boss about all sorts of different topics that may come up. And then also have a sponsor there in the room with you for like emotional support or for whatever it is that's needed. And there's a lot of visibility into our values and how we rally around those, like through actual things that we're doing within the company and externally, and how we go about during our hiring process, and how we have all these different tools that we have to just really make sure that the people that we brought on to do great things feel comfortable and feel like they can thrive. That's important.
Thank you. Thank you. You can hop to Rachel.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I think, from PVH's perspective, we've made a set of inclusion and diversity commitments. One of our commitments is out there to increase our diverse candidate slates. So as we think about like disclosing in the application process and getting access to that data, there is a trend that many companies are asking for that information. So hopefully they're doing good with it and they can, have more diversity within their application process and ultimately in that hiring process too. So I would just challenge individuals that are maybe hesitant to disclose, think about, has the company shared why they're asking for this information? Have they shared what they're going to do with it? Who is going to have access to it? And if there's any sort of red flags there, I think, to Marsha's earlier point, like, maybe it's not the right choice to fill out that application. Like if you're not aligning to those values and in the inclusivity that's going on with that company, or not going on for that matter, maybe you need to rethink applying if there's some hesitation there. And then obviously doing whatever is most comfortable for you and you at that time. That's what's important,
And Marcus, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I can add that State Farm, our diversity and inclusion mission is to leverage diversity and inclusion in all aspects of our business to gain a competitive advantage. And like Rachel and Marsha have said, I believe you should understand your values. You should talk about your values. You should be true to yourself. Your research into places you may want to work should include an assessment of how well that organization's mission and values align with your values. But I also agree that disclosure is personal and situational, and that you need to understand what makes you feel comfortable, what is safe, what is appropriate, and again, how well does it align with your values?
Yes. And many of your organizations do great work in this space. Clearly, as you're working as one of our partners at the Human Rights Campaign to do this webinar and to make students feel comfortable as they transition into the workplace. And some of you have mentioned some, but I want to just give you the opportunity to share even deeper if you'd like. What are some of those, or what does those inclusion commitments look like? And how do they show up in the workplace? So like, what are the advancements that your companies have? Are they employee resource groups? Are they, different benefit opportunities? Just because as students interested into joining these organizations, they may not know that. So I want to give you an opportunity to share, and whoever would like to start.
I can start by saying, I think, as a phrase from the past goes, we've come a long way, baby. I feel more comfortable talking about my husband and my marriage, but it's still personal and situational. Advocacy and dialogue are still very much needed. We need more visible representation in higher levels of leadership. And that means for people of color, that means Asian, Pacific Islander, Latino, Hispanic, and LGBTQ people. We must remain vigilant as individual ambassadors, allies, and advocates. Something that I've been pleased that has occurred at State Farm is that in 2020, we formalized the Chief Diversity Officer role. Although we had a senior executive leading in this space for many years, elevating it to that C-suite level gives it the visibility and the importance, and really truly backs up the claim that this is intended to both improve the working environment, but also provide a competitive advantage for State Farm as an organization. And we know that diversity of thought and diversity of perspective, helps an organization meet the diverse needs and interests of their customers. And so just that linkage between, understanding how diversity is a competitive advantage and how it can help the business grow and thrive with customers also helps to create a more inclusive environment for, those of us in underrepresented communities.
Thank you.
I think it's pretty awesome. Right now, I know that we are, so our very cheesy thing that we say is we exist to inspire the world to play. And we have so many players that we're aiming to reflect our players within our games. And we have really awesome conversations about, like, just the other day, through one of our Slack channels, we're like, one of the digital artists is working on an African-American woman. And they're like, let's talk about the entire image that's being presented and like the ripple effect of that. And so I think that we do a really good job of being super inclusive and having those open conversations. Just being able to like delve into how we understand our role in representation matters, like within our games, and doing that on that end, and then doing the same thing like within our employees. So that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. And that's an interesting concept. I like that. Rachel?
Yeah, I think, Marcia, that actually made me think about, like, in the fashion space, we talk about sort of in front of the camera and behind the camera. And so, who's walking down the runways, who's in your marketing campaigns, you could put that out and be very diverse and inclusive, but then you also have to think about who's behind the camera and what's going on there. So, we look at all spectrums as well. I think, and the number of things that Marcus mentioned around a chief diversity officer role, we also added that to our organization. I mentioned earlier a number of diversity commitments that we made, and those span anywhere from supplier diversity to representation commitments to the diverse candidate slate commitment I had mentioned, and looking at our marketing campaigns and making sure that we are being thoughtful and inclusive in those as well. And so for us, it is about like putting action behind our words. And so having them printed, they're accessible on our website, we're reporting out on them, the progress. And ultimately we want to drive fashion forward for good. And part of that is, thinking about the inclusion and diversity space, but also our corporate responsibility and sustainability and what's going on in the world and environment and our communities. And it's all tied together. And so that's really important to us as well.
Right. Thank you. And we know that even with organizations doing great work in this regard, incidents still happen, right? So we know that discrimination, whether it's based off orientation, gender identity, or race, or any form of discrimination, still can happen in the workplace. So what tools and resources are set in place at your organization to support or assist if something was to happen?
I think a place to start when I think about this is to, seek to understand the law, monitor and seek to understand the organizational policy that exists I know that State Farm has worked hard to evolve to a more open and inclusive environment, and that has been comforting. But what I would encourage individuals to do is to know yourself, what is important to you, but also to seek allies, advocates, and resources. So organizations like the Human Resources Campaign, the NAACP, the Trevor Project, local organizations, avail yourself of local, state, and federal government resources. But what I would also encourage candidates to vote and volunteer and read, understand the history of our nation. I think of to understand, the past, I can think of authors like Toni Morrison or James Baldwin, but also the present, and authors like Nicole Hannah Jones and Charles Blow. So I'm reading Charles's book right now, his memoir, Fire Deep Down in My Soul. So I just encourage candidates to take advantage of all the resources that are available and educate themselves.
Rachel?
Sure, I'll add, I think from an organization perspective, if you're at a larger organization, there's probably usually like an ethics line or an anonymous way to report an incident, should that happen in the workplace or outside of the workplace, but work related, so utilizing that, hopefully you have a strong HR business partner that, can be a key partner of yours, a confidant, being an HR professional myself, although I'm in the recruiting field, it's a little bit different, but we're still all HR professionals, and we think about things that can happen, and obviously want to have the best interests at heart for our associates and our people as well. I don't know, Marjorie, do you want to add anything? I have one more thing that I could probably add, but you can add too.
I mean, yes, we have numerous ways that you can report. We have numerous ways that we're actively combating any issues of like some unconscious bias or like deliberate discrimination. I know that, we have a no tolerance clause within our offer letter. There's like a lot of training that goes around what we've done, what EA's done to promote inclusivity within our games, user experience. And then also just like our ERGs are a great sounding board to address any issues that you encounter or just small things that you think that probably shouldn't happen. Or even just small, we're very open to hearing what it is about the discrimination that could go on within the workplace.
Thank you. So I guess our last question what would be your top 3 tips for students getting ready to go to the workplace? Top three.
I can start, and again, I'll bring the technical side, and that is to understand and be able to talk about emerging platforms such as the AWS cloud, again, Microsoft, Azure, but also understanding machine learning, data science, be able to talk about the competitive advantage of having strong cybersecurity awareness and consistent cybersecurity hygiene to protect the brand and reputation of the organization, as well as being able to safeguard the privacy and security of customers and their sensitive information. I would also say, understand the government at the local, state, and federal level. Pay attention, know the issues and the facts, and get involved. I would also encourage candidates to follow fact-based news sources and increase the variety and diversity of information that you gather and assess. I did just want to also say that State Farm has received a perfect score in the 100, or a perfect score of 100 on the index, achieving the recognition of best places to work for LGBTQ equality. And that's something that I've been proud of, that I didn't get to mention earlier, but wanted to mention it here now. But yes, follow the facts, fact-based news sources, and again, increasing the variety and diversity of information sources will be elements of success for candidates.
We can hop over to Marjorie.
Sure. I think that the top 3 work readiness tips is, number 1 is to set boundaries. It can get really busy. There's a lot of moving parts. So it's very important. I talked a little bit earlier about setting boundaries, but it's very important to structure out your day. Within the workplace, I know that we emphasize this a lot within our whole onboarding experience, and then also more specifically like with our interns. I think it's also important to understand the expectations on both sides, and communicate and ask for assistance when needed.
Yes.
Those are good ones. +1, all of those, I would say. So my top 3 would be seek out professional mentors, and you should have many of these people, and they should come from a diverse background, all different levels, different industries, different functions, because obviously the more diverse network you have, the more different perspectives you're going to get. So don't limit yourself there. Get comfortable with going outside of your comfort zone. Something I often say is, through discomfort comes growth. And so if you are growing in your career, you're probably also growing professionally. So this could be things like, taking the lead on a project, leading a team, switching industries, doing something completely different that you never thought you would do, just to get you outside of your comfort zone and help you grow a little bit more. And then last, and I think Marcus, you touched on this earlier, is like, don't get stuck in a plan. Like, don't, be open to new opportunities and new experiences. I talk to students all the time, and some of them have like their 5-10-year plan going. And I'm like, well, that's great, but what if something happens like a pandemic? What are you going to do then? Or, even if you get into an internship and it's not what you thought it was going to be, like, don't get too discouraged, work through that and pivot to something else. Like, now you know what you don't want to do. Obviously see that commitment through. I think that's really important to, keep your word there, but now you don't want to do that in the future. So those are mine.
Yes, thank you. So I want to thank Rachel, Marjorie, and Marcus for joining the conversation today, sharing their wisdom and knowledge with students across the country. I do want to give you all an opportunity to share either your email contact or LinkedIn information where students could get in contact with you should they have any questions or like to see information that you have available in terms of open positions. So we can start with Rachel, my top left.
Sure. So you're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is simply my name, and just make sure you spell it right, Rachael, and you'll find me. You're welcome to direct connect with me that way. If you wanted to find more about information on our careers website, it's just pvh.com. And then you can go to the careers link from that website. That would be the easiest way.
Thank you. Marjorie.
Yes, actually reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's my first and last name. And then for our opportunities, they're far and wide. So I would just start with ea.com/careers/students. If you are a student, or if you're looking for like a full-time opportunity, then ea.com careers.
Thank you. And Marcus.
Yes, I would encourage individuals to connect with me on LinkedIn, but you can also connect directly with me at marcus.smith.cms3@statefarm.com. I, like the others, encourage you to seek availability of positions and offerings for State Farm at statefarm.com, and careers, lots of great information and opportunities across the spectrum. So although State Farm is an insurance and financial services organization, we have creative people, we have people in sales, we have people in technology, we have people in human resources. And so lots of opportunity across the spectrum of diversity.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, everyone, my name is Rashard Butts. I'm the Senior Manager of the HBCU program at HRC. If you want to get in contact with us, our email is hbcu@hrc.org. Or you can find more information on our site, hrc.org/HBCU. And this event is a part of our National HBCU Truth Week, which is, as many of you may know, is replacing our annual Student Leadership Summit given the COVID pandemic. So we are having several facilitated conversations with folks all around the country doing great things, variety of topics. And this one was about college students getting ready to transition into the career and workplace. So we hope you all enjoy. Thank you again to our wonderful panelists, Rachel, Marcherie, and Marcus. Thank you all. Thank you all. We really enjoyed you. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you again. And I think that's it, y'all.
Good to be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.